We've talked about internal audit before, I know, but just looking here at can we use the internal audit when we're doing our external audit? Can we use some of their work? You know, they're testing controls, etc., and that's what we want to do. So if they're already doing it, then maybe we should just use their work. And we are allowed to, except remember the responsibility, even if we use their work, the responsibility remains with us, with the external auditor, not the internal auditor. Okay, so this is about should we use them, but remember, even if we do, it's still our responsibility. You know, we don't pass on that responsibility. So first of all, can we rely on them? Kind of depends really on two things. It depends on, are they independent, which we've actually talked about before, and are they competent? Okay, we have talked about what makes an internal audit department independent, but I'll go over it again. It's all about their standing in the organisation. Does the management react to what they tell them? Do the management do what the internal audit department suggests? Are they independent? Do they have rotation of staff into different areas? What's the seniority of the head? All this we've mentioned before. The seniority of the head of the internal audit. He should be a senior person to give you that standing in the organisation. Do they report to an audit committee as opposed to just reporting to the financial management, that sort of thing? Okay. Are they resourced well? That again just tells you how much the management and their standing in the organisation is. So if all those things, you know, they're all question marks, but if they're all good, then we can say, yeah, they're pretty independent, and so therefore maybe we can rely on them. The other thing, of course, they need to be competent. So they just basically need to be qualified. That could be a qualified accountant or a qualified internal auditor, and they need to have the appropriate experience, of course, if we're going to rely on them. So once we say, right, okay, it looks as if the setup is fine, it looks as if we can rely on the internal audit, then we go on to the other side and say, right, in terms of your work then, if I'm going to rely on it, I need some other things in your work. And that work means everything needs to be documented because we need evidence. And so it needs to be documented. Them saying it's been done is not enough. We need it documented. We need it to have been reviewed. So if it's junior people, we need to see that it's been reviewed by people higher up in the organisation. On top of that, or basically all of it, what we're looking for is sufficient and appropriate evidence, aren't we? That's what we want, so that's what we want to see that the internal audit work shows us, that it gives us sufficient and appropriate evidence, and from that evidence that they have drawn reasonable conclusions, i.e. we would have drawn the same conclusions as well as they would. If they would, then perfect, we can rely on them, we can use it, but just remember the responsibility still stays with us.